So, continuing our discussion about how globalization sometimes undermine the decision making at the national level. We were talking about our case of US, where, like, if you have a leader who says, "I'm going to be more protectionist," usually that leader is somewhat full of hot air, as we have seen in the case of current administration that has seen tremendous promises, that has made tremendous promises as to the degree of foreign trade that it would block, and then has of course walked those back as they explained to the president what he can or cannot do because he doesn't really understand those kind of things. So the other aspect, so that's one thing we've seen, that since we are signatory to many of those international agreements, we cannot openly violate those things, and that's what it's happening right now. The other aspect, is that economics slowly is also triumphing over politics. As an individual country, you might be having certain priorities. Let's say you want to protect the environment or want to create labor standards that make sure that women receive the same payments as men. All right. Well, that's not really what globalization and global economy is about. It's about producing as things as efficiently and low cost as possible. And if you open yourself up to other countries that don't have the same environmental standards, that don't have the same kind of social standards, you are a little bit at a disadvantage, right? They can maybe producing something cheaper because they pay women less in that society, or they can produce something cheaper because they are doing so while polluting the atmosphere and they don't care. So globalization really allows economic values, and to be most important ones, like more important than the social values, more important than the cultural values, and things like that. So one of the things that culturally, to say that the film business, again, that through globalization, American TV and music and movies go throughout the globe. Some countries have chosen to create a content condition, meaning, let's say in Canada, if you go there, a certain percentage of what's on TV or on radio has to come from Canada, but they got to be really careful. They cannot just say no, no American TV or anything like that. So they've got to be very careful whether they can try to protect their native culture from global economic culture. So again, as the global economy becomes more and more powerful, as global businesses become more and more powerful, maybe there is a need for regulations, right? Of regulations to keep these things in check. Again, what it does is it gives businesses the opportunity to go abroad to set up. The environmental standards are too high in US. Let me produce in India. They don't care if I pollute. Maybe there is a needs to be regulation at global level, common stand at global level, to make sure that not all businesses simply go to the place where social standards and environmental standards are at their lowest. Again, this there are other big issue is who is making these decisions. Globalization is not necessarily nameless or faceless, right? A lot of decision and the rules for globalization can be found in global institutions, WTO, IMF, and the like. These are very powerful global institutions that sometimes might step all over domestic arrangements. They might, you might have an arrangement with your leader. It was an authoritarian leader, and you say, okay, you're going to give you amnesty if you please step down. That leader says, okay, that sounds good. I will stay here. I have killed enough people. I think I'll just retire to a nice estate here in rural Chile or something. Oh, what's the global institutions like International Criminal Court or such still continue to come after that? So sometimes they can frustrate local efforts to make deals with international rules. Of course, the other big um, problem for international organization is that they are not populated by people who have been elected. They are all appointees. They are all appointees. So you cannot really hold them accountable. You can't vote them out of office. Maybe you can vote your government out of office and say, I want new representatives, but that's very indirect. Your ability to immediately impact what international organizations do or what your national representatives to the international organization do or say is extremely limited. And that's why we call it a democratic deficit. It's not the same ability as you have at the national level to get the policies changed and to threaten not to vote for somebody. So that's again is in general, right? We are going to be looking at the China and look at other countries already specifically, but in general, those are the ways in which an increased globalized world puts tremendous pressure on the individual countries and limit their ability to make choices.